Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about editing tips, hacks, and tricks for small channels that I want you guys to know about. This was a runner-up in one of the polls, and I felt like it would be fair to address it even though it was a runner-up because some people voted to learn more about it in the past and I never covered it because I was like, oh, okay, well, people don't want to hear about that. But we're going to talk about it, and we're going to keep it user beginner friendly for people with small channels, people growing, people technology challenge, hobbyists, people that are not trying to do all that. Put it like that, because everybody ain't trying to do all that. And some of our content doesn't call for it. So here is some tips that I have, some tips and strategies I have to fix the little things. I got better at editing by doing it. When I first started, I was afraid. I first started editing my web series back in the day that I was filming. So one of the ways that you get better is by doing. I had to edit my web series by myself. I wanted to edit it by myself because I wanted to learn. And I had a lot of jump cuts and didn't know about colors and color correction and color grading. And between that and the video production services I run, where we predominantly film like music videos, small commercials, behind the scenes for shows and short films and things like that. I had to get better with different styles of editing real quick. And I had to improve on lighting real quick. Shooting this type of video was difficult for me in the beginning because everybody else's videos look so good. I was like, wow, the lighting, etc., blah, blah, blah. But with practice and time, I got so much better at doing those things. I can do it pretty fast now. And, you know, so practice. I was practicing a lot of editing, a lot of different styles of editing. Those different styles of editing have made me a more efficient and faster editor, I would say, because I've run into some very tricky and aggravating situations with files, with technical errors, with software, with the camera, with the SD card, with the hard drive. I've ran into an error with everything under the equipment category. I would say outsourcing if you don't have time, if it's not something that you enjoy doing, find other people to do it for you. I first got this idea from Ali Abdul, I think it is. He's that guy that has that really big channel. He used to be like a doctor or surgeon, and he quit and became a full-time YouTuber sometime around the pandemic. His channel is doing really good. But he just said, don't reinvent the wheel and don't try to do things that you don't like. If it's a part of the process that you really don't enjoy, it's nothing wrong with saving you some money by trying to learn and do it yourself. For example, if I didn't have a video production services, editing was something that I would have to conquer on my own, period, point blank, period, because then I can explain to an editor what I want or need because I understand the process myself. You can't screw me over or con me on anything that I kind of already know how to do. So outsource if you hate it or don't have time to do it. Outsource if it's not something that you enjoy doing. Okay, so shooting in auto on your phone or camera versus shooting in manual on your phone or camera. I personally am always going to vote to shoot in manual. With manual, I have more control over my settings. I've talked to people a few times and they'll be like, well, how do you get your stuff to look like XYZ? And I'll give them the tips and tricks and I'll say, what mode are you shooting in? Either A, they don't know, or either B, they still shooting in auto, asking me how to do things that I do in manual mode. In auto, the camera is going to adjust the ISO. It's going to adjust the aperture for you. It's going to make adjustments to your shutter speed and your frame rates and stuff accordingly based off of the light that it sees and what's happening in the image. I don't like that. I like to have control over that. So I have my lights. I have 2 lights here right now. Most of the time I use 1 light, depends on how I feel. It's just a YouTube video. I try not to overthink it. I try to have fun with it and try different looks, different lights, different backgrounds. That's just how I am. I try to switch it up. But I shoot in manual because I can control my ISO, I can control my aperture, I can control all the other things that you just heard me mention. And I'd rather have that ownership because I control the environment of my filming location. So I would recommend if you are shooting on your phone or your camera to shoot in manual mode. On cameras, it's usually manual movie mode. And I will do a video about this later on down the road. This is just my recommendation and my preference. Some of you guys are doing amazing in auto as it is on your cameras or your phone. So if it works for you, it works for you. Please do not go change it and be like, oh, that's how I go get that look and tear your footage up. because in my first few videos, I didn't know what I was doing, the first 5, and them videos is a hot mess and they're staying right there. So do what works for you. If you don't really know what it is and how to do it, you can always YouTube it. I can always take a deeper dive. But in the meantime, this is just my recommendations and my preferences. Is I like to shoot in manual versus auto mode. Learn the basics of exposure, what ISO is, what shutter speed is, what frame rates are, what your aperture are. Learn about white balance and all those things. Those are the most basic things I would suggest to learn about. But only do this if you have a real interest in stepping up the production and the style of your video. If you're fine where you are, you're a hobbyist, you're just having fun with this, you're doing good, you're where you are, then if you like it, I love it. This is just for people who don't know why their images look the way they do, or they want to enhance or improve their quality and they're willing to roll up their sleeves and figure out how we can fix that. Then that's what this is for. Autofocus versus manual focus. This has been the fight of my YouTube journey. I usually shoot in manual focus. And the reason why I shoot in manual focus is because I don't have to worry about stuff like this. Let's see if it does it. Oh, now you don't want to do it. Now you don't want to do it when it's time to show people how to do it. But anyway, normally when I would look over here, the camera would get blurry because it's on eye focus, right? So right now there's a little box that's tracking my eye. So when I'm not making eye contact, which is something I don't do a lot of the times, it will get blurry. What can I show y'all? Let's do this. Let's do this. It's gonna mess it up. Yeah, see that? So since it's used to looking at my eye, when I put something like that and it doesn't see my eye long enough, it'll blur the footage. I don't like that. Now there's different types of autofocus. I don't know the names of it, so I'm not gonna butcher it. I do a lot of things by muscle memory, and everybody's camera is different, but I believe it's zone tracking and zone focus. I know that's not right. That's the crazy part. I know that's not right. I do this too much to know that that don't sound right. I know about zone, but the third one don't sound right. But that's the different type of autofocus that there is. I use eye focus because these are some tips and tricks that I learned from a channel that I really like, where I felt like his quality and his image and stuff was very sharp. So if I'm in manual focus, I can see exactly what's in focus. But with manual focus, it's focused on me where I am. So if I move out of that perimeter and if I move forward and back, I would be blurry and out of focus anyway. So it caused me to shoot my videos like this because the entire time I was watching the screen to make sure I was in focus, and it just took away too much of my attention from actually shooting the video. And I was very rigid because I didn't want to go outside of that perimeter that I had to where I would not be in focus. So I was like, well, autofocus, I could do all my little movements and facial features and stuff like that. As long as I maintain contact with the camera, then I'm good. And it actually forced me to start to make better eye contact with the camera because I got so tired of that problem that I was having with things being blurry and unblurry. Now, if you have a faster camera, a more high-tech camera, your autofocus, like our other cameras in the house, the autofocus is on point. You can do way more. Like we done shot rap videos with that and everything, and people they out there, but and whatever, and the autofocus is keeping up. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, my camera ain't doing that. But I just got more so like a vlogging camera. Now I know how to work the heck out of this camera though, so I found my workarounds. Distance, lighting, different tricks and stuff that I can do to enhance the the performance of the autofocus. But say all that to say, and I hope that's not too lengthy of a response, but I wanted to explain the pros and cons. I say all that to say I prefer now manual focus. If I'm sitting still with these types of videos, I tend to do manual focus more. I'm doing autofocus as a way to keep me accountable to making eye contact, a way to be able to move more because, I'm starting to just like try to be more of myself. Like I want to be like the purpose was when I created this video. So I need to be able to move because that's really how I talk. But manual focus is good if you're shooting a video where you're going to be still. Maybe if you're not the type of person who's moving around as much as I am. Maybe if you're trying to shoot something with food, you can do like manual focus to zoom down on that particular item, things like that. And you can do autofocus if you're shooting like day in the life vlogs, things where the camera needs to move around, things where you know that you have a certain type of body language. You probably just want to shoot in autofocus. I would say get some lighting or shoot outdoors. One of the things is you can't fix underexposed footage very well. You'll have a better chance of fixing something that's blown out or is overexposed. Overexposed means too much light. Underexposed means not enough light. I've had better experiences fixing client work and issues with shooting when it was overexposed and under. But if it's too far overexposed, it's too bright, you can't fix that either. I have my workarounds and editing and the post production process of fixing this. So make sure you're getting a decent amount of light. For us newer small channels, I do highly recommend a regular ring light. People have been using it for years. It's a great product. I think it works well. I don't have a ring light. I've never had a ring light. But I wish I had one because it makes it very simple to set up. Whereas the lights, it's a little bit more of tweaking and altering because they can cast harsh shadows on the wall or just harsh shadows on your face or, you know, a lot of glare in your glasses and things like that, which happen with the ring light as well. But I do feel like it gives you more of a balance. So with the lights, I might try a different look. And then when I go to look at the footage or the quality later, it looks like trash. So with the lights, it's a lot of trial and error. Like I'm doing different things with accent light in the back and, you know, constantly moving them around, trying different angles. And there's not a lot of space all the time for that. So it does make it difficult to film. So when I film in the more common areas or public places, I like to move around and take advantage of other places. It's difficult to have to carry the lights plus my camera plus my tripod and stuff. So that's why a lot of people are shooting in their car. A lot of people are shooting outside, outdoors with the natural light. And that works, but stay away from certain times of the day. I think it's called golden hour, if I'm not mistaken. That's when the sunlight will be very harsh and it will make the quality of your images look pretty bad unless you have access to certain things to, you know, protect you, the subject, or, you know, the camera from those harsh lighting conditions. Now, some ways to avoid glitching. I see some people morphing in their videos like this, those hard cuts, is because it is better to do multiple takes. So when I say a certain sentence, I've gotten into a habit of finishing the sentence off at a certain tone. So if I finish a sentence like that, as opposed to finishing the sentence like this, if I have to cut to the next sentence and I have to put the two together, you'll be able to tell that that sentence ran off from something else and it won't sound very good. So I try to make sure I articulate myself to end my sentences on a point to where if I have to cut and put it next to another sentence, it will sound perfectly fine. You won't notice the difference. Body language will cause those jumps because in one clip, you had your hand up and you were saying this, but in the next clip, you're turned this way. And then, you know, okay. And then in the make sure everything look right back there before I start turning around revealing everything. But in the next clip, you're turned a different way. So you finish a sentence like this, but then you cut it to another clip where you're facing that way. So that's what causes those jumps. I hope that makes sense. And the way that you can avoid that is if you knew you make mistakes during the filming while you're talking, just say it again. So for example, if you knew you made mistakes while you were talking, just say it again. I just gave you a clear example. That way, when I go to edit, I'll use that second take as opposed to the first take. If I don't like how I said something, I will stop and say it again. I'm filming in here. Y'all don't know what type of mistakes and stuff that I'm doing. Y'all don't know what's going on back here. Like, y'all don't see all the mistakes. People are like, you speak so fluidly, you know, you articulate so very well. A lot of stuff gets chopped out. Not too much, but just where like I lost my train of thought a lot, or it's jumpy, or I don't know what I was talking about. I cut it out. I have to keep the things going. Remember, we don't want to think that we're so entertaining that we want to waste people's time. So I do have to cut out things that don't make sense or don't work or just didn't have a purpose in the video. A lot of times I'll keep in the video my two takes. I'll say something and then I'll say something. And that is a perfect example. I'll leave them in there because I don't want you guys to feel like robots. We're having fun. This is a YouTube channel. Nobody's perfect. Even the videos that you see that look really, really great, there's editing that goes into that to make it look more seamless. But I don't want to be a bot. So I keep some of my mistakes in so you guys can see. And I do a lot of Peter Piper pick the pepper when I'm making my videos. I'll be like, for example, I think the last video I said is embedded. I could have cut that out and just put embedded. But I left it because it's more fun to show you guys that you don't have to be perfect when you're making your videos. You can do crops and posts where you made mistakes, crop it. Cropping is just when you see the camera gets closer like that on the scene, that will hide the cuts. So if I did like a glitch where one scene I was talking like this and the next scene I was like this, what I'll do is I'll crop it, because now you won't see my hands. If I crop it and I'm right here, you never saw my hands do anything. You only saw my face. Zooms in Final Cut is called Ken burns. They go 2 different directions. You can zoom in as you're speaking, or you can zoom out as you're speaking. I do this when I'm emphasizing certain points that I'm trying to make, or I do it if I made a really, really bad jump cut and it doesn't look good. So to fix that next scene where there's a really bad jump cut, it'll zoom in. And then when it comes back out, it doesn't look like I went like this while I was speaking. When I try to edit it, it'll instead look like this, and you guys will see it zoom in, and it'll come back out to that cut where my hands were up. I hope that makes sense. I'll try to provide some examples for you guys. I'm pretty sure that I have plenty. Moving along. I'm actually coming to the end. Yay me. Titles help. Whereas I couldn't fix really bad cuts, I put titles. Sometimes I blank out those spots where I don't feel like I did a good job, and I'll put like a title or a quote. I put titles and quotes where I see fit in my video as well. They're not all just cover-ups. But when I do have some bad cuts, or I look down at my notebook and I couldn't fix it in post, or it was like super, super duper blurry for way too long, I'll put a title there. Bam, you never saw it. I put music sometimes for bad cuts, because sometimes the could sound like that, and I'll put music underneath it, and it kind of has hot hit in it sometimes, you know, and you never even knew. B-roll helps. So if you shot other footage of, for example, you looking on your phone, or you typing, or you scrolling through things, the footage where you think you botched it, instead of deleting it, replace it with B-roll. In the work from home vlog, I had to do it a lot. There was a lot of footage that didn't make the cut, that was too blurry, too dark, didn't come out good. And I replaced it with B-roll instead. I replaced it with me doing something else. Cut the fluff. Like when you go to edit, have fun, give people, you know, tidbits of your personality, the flair, but don't put too much unnecessary stuff in it. Don't nobody need a 45-minute video of you playing with your eyebrows or something, unless you make eyebrow videos. But if you came to talk about a certain point and you ran, you know, you went down a rabbit hole and you started playing with your eyebrows, we don't need to see that for 5 minutes. I say 7 to 8 seconds is a good amount of time for like little distractions and rabbit holes if your video has a message or a point, and then get right back to, you know, the thing. And the last but not least is be authentic. Don't worry so much about your editing if it's not great. You can't edit what you don't do. So if you're sitting here talking about, oh, I don't know how I'm going to edit, and I don't know if it's going to be good, you have nothing to practice on because you haven't even done it. Try CapCut. It's user-friendly. People have different software, different strokes for different folks. There's DaVinci Resolve. There's iMovies. There's phone editor apps. I started with a phone editor app. Even though I had Final Cut already, I started with that because I was editing from my phone. There's different types of things, you know, that works for different people. Be authentic in your editing. Don't try to match what somebody else is doing and go play yourself and burn yourself out, aka stay in my lane. I'm always aka stay in my lane, because I ain't gonna hold you. Like, doing stuff that works for other people that doesn't work for you is going to be very difficult. In due time, once you get better, you can always ramp it up and do these cool effects that you see. I always push myself to learn a new feature or effect or something that somebody else is doing, because I really and genuinely enjoy pushing myself or learning. But don't do it just because you see that's the styles that other videos are doing. I really believe that I would not start to find as much success as I am unless I establish what I want for my channel, unless I decided, hey, this is what works for me. This is what I could actually produce very valuable and good content about doing it this way. And I'm doing that. I believe if I continue to try to do those high engaging pop videos, I believe I would be lost in the sauce by now and still not making any progress, to be honest, because it was making it too hard for me to create videos. It was slowing me down. And it was making the process overwhelming. It wasn't fun. I didn't want to create at one point, and I don't like that. And I was like, you know what? It's the editing. That's what it is. So be authentic, find what works for you, and do that. And I hope those tips helped you guys. You know, maybe I should do an editing ebook. I don't know. But either way, I will see you guys around. I hope those tips and tricks helped you guys. If you know any other tips or tricks or whatever you want to drop in the comments and share with the community or anybody else, please do. If there was anything that I mentioned that you want to actually see an example of and I can dive into, I shall. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.